Hi, and welcome to Zodiac Legion, a game of tactical combat, kingdom management, and celestial splendor. The player takes on the role of the Grand Master of the titular Zodiac Legion, a chivalric order engaged in a desperate war for survival. It will be his task to expand his domain, train his knights in both the martial and arcane arts, and lead his brothers to victory in a grand campaign under the banners of the 13 Zodiac signs. The main parts of the game involve strategic management and tactical turn-based battles. Let us focus on the tactical aspect. Before embarking on the mission, the player will need to select a party, or lance, of 6 to 12 knights, balancing their individual strengths and weaknesses for the task ahead. After that, it's only the matter of choosing the right mission and praying to the stars that everything goes well. Because Zodiac Legion is a game where your plans rarely survive contact with the enemy. Losses among troops are plentiful, and some of them can constitute major setbacks, but as long as they help you achieve victory, they may just be worth it. In this sense, casualties are both to be expected and accepted. As a mission begins, the player and the enemy take turns to resolve their actions. Combat is, generally speaking, lethal, and allies and foes alike are expected to die in a matter of 1 or 2 blows. This is why taking a careful, tactical approach is necessary to win in a way that guarantees the lowest casualties. However, caution has to be balanced with speed, as the more time the player spends in a mission, the higher the global alarm level will rise, making your task increasingly more difficult. As the alarm increases, traps may activate around the map, the enemy will send out patrols to hunt you down, and eventually, even reinforcements will begin pouring in, potentially drowning you in a tide of foes that you'll be unable to beat back. With all this in mind, as you may suspect, the chief inspiration behind Zodiac Legion are the classic XCOM games, but we didn't want to make just another XCOM clone, in name only or otherwise. Our goal with the game was to combine that formula with more involved dungeon crawling, characteristic of role-playing games, a fantasy setting and aesthetics, and a feeling similar to board games. These principles apply both to the tactical battles and the kingdom building layer. As characters exchange blows, dice are rolled in the background, determining the outcomes of the fights. This is another important foundational design principle for Zodiac Legion. Though you can always make an informed guess what will happen as you attack by comparing the two combatants' statistics, there's always a possibility that something will go wrong. Either your attack will fail, or a significantly weaker enemy will succeed on a critical hit that will kill your unit, forcing you to adapt your approach and think of new ways to progress in the mission. And since both you and the enemies have access to a number of different tools, you'll need to keep all of them in mind when planning your progress. Archers are deadly to your backline, but can be countered by shielded footmen. Powerful magic can clear out units in an instant, but its casting costs are high, and you'll be forced to conserve it for when really needed. Polearms can attack from a longer distance than regular weapons to disrupt shield walls. The possibilities are numerous, and the rules are equal for both sides. As for the sides of the conflict, the two main actors are the Zodiac Legion and its ancient enemy, a cabal of undying, cursed sorcerers commanding armies of slaves, demons, hybrids, and other abominations. But there are also other, minor factions that can be swayed to your cause through diplomacy. These include local lords, splinter orders of the Zodiac, even foreign barbarian tribes. But here, the rules are equal too, and your enemies will also try to gain these factions' support. As such, you'll need to conduct constant espionage and sabotage to thwart enemy plans, disrupt alliances, and seize various resources, places of power, and opportunities for yourself. The war is won through words just as much as through steel, especially since the Zodiac Legion is significantly outnumbered, and it can't hope to win by itself, and only on the field of battle. However, the player's influence on the world extends further than just diplomatic measures. A core aspect of the missions and dungeons in the game is their non-linearity, and not just in terms of room layouts. The player has access to various abilities that let him shape the battlefield to his liking. This includes demolishing walls, teleporting troops, or conjuring elemental barriers to prevent enemies from overwhelming you. All these options are vital to your success and add a layer of flexibility to the campaign that promotes excellent replayability and freedom of approach. Not to mention that a clever use of these skills can quickly transform a seemingly hopeless situation into an entirely new opportunity. Reshuffling the battlefield will open quick getaways, shortcuts, flanking maneuvers, whatever you desire. This is especially important considering the game's varied objectives and mission structures. The goal is rarely as simple as wiping out all the enemy units. You'll need to retrieve assets, take and hold strategic locations, evacuate prisoners, break through sieges, assassinate high-value targets, and many more. But first, you'll need to find your way to these objectives by navigating complex maps involving both twisting underground dungeons and sprawling outposts or battlefields on the surface. To make it even more difficult, the vast majority of the levels are procedurally generated, so no two playthroughs are ever the same. As mentioned already, the Zodiac Legion is a chivalric order based on actual military orders of the Middle Ages with all that entails. As such, the Knights of the Order are the ultimate fighting force in the land. They have devoted their entire lives to the art of war. But unlike their real-world counterparts, these holy warrior monks are also capable of invoking magic to crush their foes, and you will need to make use of their abilities to counter the overwhelming odds posed by the enemy hordes. The Zodiac Legion is not numerous to begin with, and even fewer are its true Zodiac champions. These are elite warriors attuned to the Zodiac signs. They are strong enough to act almost as one-man armies, thanks to the powers conferred to them by the Zodiac. But this also makes them incredibly precious, and as such, the player is limited in how many champions he can take into battle, and they must be commanded with caution, because losing a champion can be an extraordinarily costly setback. This is why it may be a good idea to shield them with regular troops. The standard footmen are more expendable than champions, but they are by no means less useful. They form the backbone of your army, and as they gain experience, they may rise to become champions themselves. Zodiac attunement will allow them to specialize from general to specific roles, give them access to unique skills that differ based on the sign, and unlock exclusive options in certain missions resolved not only through tactical battles, but also text adventures. But regardless of their rank and status, all your knights will need to cooperate as a single unit to survive the many battles ahead. Another chief aspect of the combat in Zodiac Legion is its attempt to recreate actual medieval melee engagements. This is of course strongly abstracted, but our idea is to present the importance of formation and order in combat, so that the characters assemble into tight shield walls, where the warriors can support each other, rotate fresh and exhausted troops in the front line, flank enemies who are out of position, or force them out of position, with both physical or magical maneuvers. Grappling, teleportation, telekinesis, positioning, all comes into play here, rather than individual duels with dodging and fencing that never really happened outside tournaments. With the way clear of enemies, the player can focus on the objective at hand. In the mission as presented here, the goal is to find and rescue an imprisoned brother legionary from ancient times, whose devotion to the cause led him to defeat death itself. His knowledge of the arcane arts may prove vital to the war effort, because much of it has been lost over the centuries. In the world of Zodiac Legion, magic is a force that ebbs and flows, naturally dividing history into eras of awakened and dormant magic. The game starts shortly after the power of the stars imbues the world again. Ancient places of power spring to life, people acquire supernatural talents, and legends become reality. That is also why much of the Legion's heritage has been forgotten and must be discovered anew. This is accomplished by progressing in research and expanding the player's headquarters, the Zodiac Citadel. Research will allow the player to gain access to new spells, facilities, and knowledge of the world, while developing the Citadel will unlock new strategic options, such as a greater character roster, improved diplomacy and economy, forges for crafting and improving your troops' equipment, and many more. With the objective secured, all that is left is to return to the teleporter that brought the party to the dungeon and head back to the safety of the Zodiac Citadel for debriefing. After tending to the wounded and taking stock of the rewards obtained during the mission, the player will need to plan the next step of the campaign. Where will it take you? Will you have what it takes to become the Lord Descendant and restore the Zodiac Legion's long-lost glory? Or will you succumb to the demonic hordes that beset your realm, and have even your very name wiped from the pages of history? These and many other challenges await you in Zodiac Legion. May the stars guide you on your quest.